Grand rising, my brothers and sisters in the audience today on this good Monday morning. Yes, indeed. We have got to talk about this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 14, episode 9, Midnight in the Chateau of Good and Evil. Okay. And just because this is a special occasion, okay, I want you all to know that we have a message from the prophet, okay? So we have a special message from the prophet. So stay tuned for that. You will not want to miss the message from the prophet, okay? Now, listen, it's your boy Richie Skye. We are back in the building. I just got back from Good Day DC, which is why I was running a little bit late. Okay. With that being said, how y'all doing? Okay, how y'all doing? Drop your location down in that good chatterization. Let me know where you're watching from. I see we got St. Louis in the house. We got Georgia is in the building. Okay, Grand Prairie, Texas. Yes, the prophet is here. We got a word. We got a word. We got a word. Okay, we got a word. All right. Charlotte is up in this live. Woodbridge, Virginia. Okay. Yes, I did hear about the Jen Shaw of it all, which I'll wait for another video to discuss that. Okay. Nairobi, Kenya. We got Columbus, Ohio, Houston, Texas, Jersey City, Cape Town is in the building. I see you. I love me some Cape Town, y'all. Philly's in the building. We got Georgia, Los Angeles. We got Namibia's in the building. Las Vegas, South Carolina, Louisville, Cleveland. Yes. Come on, Zurich. Yes. Everybody in the building. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, tapped in, and we ready to go. All right. Listen. We're going to touch on really mostly this week's episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta in this video. I'm not going to talk about anything that happened on Candy Speak on it. I'm not going to talk about anything that occurred anyplace else but this episode in this particular videos. Those videos will come at a later point in time, okay? I don't want to cram too much into this because I don't want it to go on extra long because we got a lot to talk about. So let's go ahead and start with rating this week's episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And I got to tell you guys, for an episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, I'm going to actually give this a 9.9, okay? I'm going to give this week's episode a 9.9. I do feel like I love the fact that and I'm going to tell you why I took away a minute point, okay? A minute, itty-bitty, teeny-weeny point in just 1 second. Yeah, I mean, I want to give it a 10 so bad. But the reason, I'm going to tell you the reason I'm not. We got Lisa Wu in the building last night, getting Sanya together, okay? We got a drunk Kenya, who I could stand to use a bit more drunk Kenya, okay? I'll take drunk Kenya over drunk Dorinda any day, okay? And I love me some Dorinda. But Kenya, funny, all right? We got, a lot of Sheree. We got a lot of Drew. We got a whole prophet coming back, a callback from last year's prophet with the new prophet. And now we got these aliases of Drews and Ralphs and allegedly, okay? We got a new friend of Fatum. We got Monyetta back in the building. Last night's episode was good. The editing was top tier. The only reason I took away a couple of points, like a smidge of a point, is because I felt like this reminded me so much of the Reasonably Shady episode from The Real Housewives of Potomac. In terms of how they did the editing. And I felt like, because I recognized one of the producers' names, I'm like, so I know Eric Fuller tends to work on Potomac, so I don't know how long he's been working on Atlanta, but in my mind, I felt like they got these Potomac editors in the building, baby. And I don't know, it just, again, this episode gave me Reasonably Shady episode. If you have not seen the episode of Potomac, do yourself a favor. Run to the Bravo app, the DVR or whatever you got, and go back and watch that episode. Okay. Now, but otherwise, to me, this episode was everything. I loved it, and it was not only that, but it was extra long too. So we got an extra 15 minutes. Tina, thank you so much. Says, hey, Richie, Lisa Wu came through and got the girls together. Oh, yes, she did. Oh, yes, she did. And I was here for it, okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk about the episode, shall we? Okay, let's get into it. We start the episode off with Sheree and Fatum at Sheree's daughter's Kiss and Tell, a little Kiss and Tell podcast. They're talking about sexual positions, and this week's position is the landslide, where the woman is on all fours. The man is laid back in some kind of position in the landslide. And before we can really dive into that, we got to talk about this breaking news headline that is about Sheree and Tyrone not being on speaking terms because the scene that she was trying to film with him could have put him back in the clink, okay? Now, she says in this scene, because she upset, he leaked the photos, he wrote the stories, and he was broke and he needed the money, okay? And she feels calm by him like those people that he scammed. But I could have swore that Nene Leakes had called this man a scam artist a couple of seasons ago, okay? And I could have swore that she told Sheree about this man. Now, again, I asked you in yesterday's video, is he a scam artist now because he stood you up, or was he a scam artist when you was in love with him? Just riddle me that. I'm just trying to figure it out, okay? I'm just trying to figure it out. Thank you so much for that super chat, Cherry. I appreciate that. Meanwhile, Marlo is in talks with the boys. Apparently, they've been misbehaving and things like that, and acting out ever since the conversation with their mom. And she asked them if they need some therapy or something like that. Now, I'm gonna tell you like this: I don't know why you asking some kids whether or not they need therapy. What they gonna tell you? Either way, they say yes or no. I mean, at this point, I would say it's safe to say that they probably should get some therapy because of what they've experienced with their mom. It would not be a bad idea, but I don't know why Marlo is asking them if they need it. I mean, girl, just take them, okay? Actually, all three of y'all should probably go because I think based on what she's saying in this episode repeatedly, I feel like it would do well for them to seek some type of family therapy. And I feel like that would be a good way to start, especially instead of simply sending them back to her sister. Well, to sending them to her little sisters, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Kenya is prepping a charcuterie board for Sanya, and they catch up on all the people living in Sanya's house, the village. Okay, it takes a village, all right? They get into Kenya being a single mom. Then Candy, for some reason, FaceTimes them. They ask how the security went at her home because the 25-year-old boy had jumped the fences and tried to get up into her house. Then after the call, Kenya and Sanya recaps the Drop It With Drew event with Marlo. And Kenya, for the life of her, cannot understand why Marlo is turning on her. And she said they were trying to move on. But Kenya is done at this point, okay? Meanwhile, Sheree is prepping the breakfast for Fatum, who we've seen a lot of in this episode. We also learn she is from the Africa, okay? They chat about Tyrone and the headlines, and Sheree has him blocked, okay? And now she questions if he ever really loved her. She feels crazy and says that he robbed her emotionally. And then she bursts into some tears that I cannot see, okay? And let me tell you something. I am a Cancer, so I am very sensitive to people's crying and their emotions and that when they break down. But I don't know why for the life of me, I was looking for the tears. Whenever somebody cries on TV, I'll be looking for the tears because I, for some reason, be feeling like sometimes when people will just do a little, I'm just kind of wondering, like, are you really crying? Or are you putting on for me? And it's sad to say that we've gotten to a point in reality TV where we have to question these things. So I'm going to take it just that she was really, really upset in that moment because she has every right to be upset about this situation. But at the same time, it's kind of like hindsight being 2020. She's asking everyone like Fatum, because Fatum is like, well, at the end of the conversation, Sheree says she needs to focus on her and not that con artist who is now suddenly beneath her and not on her level. And Fatum says, well, we always thought that, but we didn't want to tell you. So what kind of friendships have you fostered where your friends feel like they can't tell you nothing about the person that you date? Now, granted, I, for one, have this belief that I used to be the type of friend that will tell you what I thought about your relationship. But what I've learned is I'm gonna let you do you, okay? Because when you be trying to tell somebody about what you see in their relationship, especially when you didn't walk with them through the ups and downs of it, after a while you just learn. You got to learn for yourself, boo. I'm gonna let you do you, and if you want to date this man who is in the prison for all these years, fine. That is on you. What time do you want to meet up for brunch? Okay, that's it. Bottom line. Okay. But it's so funny to me that now all of a sudden he's not on her level or whatnot. Let's just focus on the issue. The man stood you up and you don't know why. Be mad about that, which you have every right to be. But now it's like, don't go back and retroactively say, well, now he's a con man. Well, girl, you knew all of these things going into it. So these can't be your points of reference now that you're mad at him. Again, stay on the issue. Stay on point. You're mad at this man for standing you up. You don't know why, and you thought it was disrespectful. Boom. Okay. Santane says, I don't like her down talking Tyrone, the same man she chose to lay down with, knowing his background. She's lame for that. And I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, you knew who this was going into it. So now he's a con man and all these other nasty things because you mad at him. Like, I don't really like that too much, right? Anyway, Drew and her mom, who is visiting from Chicago, go and get the pedicures, okay? We learned that Ralph is writing a book about step-parenting, and it was the ex-assistant who had offered him a massage, allegedly, who got him the book deal, okay? Drew, are you getting him book deals? I mean, are you? Okay, you got to step it up, girl. Anyway, mom suggests that Ralph adopts Josiah. Apparently, that's been the plan. But Ralph, for some reason, does not want to disrespect Josiah's dad, even though I thought I heard them say Josiah has Ralph's last name. But then, apparently, Drew's mama, who I believe is a pastor, okay, got a word from the prophet, okay? And so I'm going to play you a message, okay, from the prophet. And I want you guys to hear me and hear this message, okay?
Pray a prayer of protection over Drew while she's in Atlanta. There's a woman of adversary of people out to damage her. It could be a woman, but it could be a man with the spirits of a woman. Beware, Drew. They are out to get you.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Whatever do we do? Someone's out to get Drew, but we don't know who it is. Neither does she. I guess we'll find out. Okay. Could it be Sanya, who Drew tells her mama that Sanya has turned her back on her? Sanya has forsaken her and has chosen to go over to the dark side and shade Ralph. Because as I said in last episode, Sanya, when she had a conversation asking for Ralph's advice, why? Okay, why are you asking Ralph for marital advice? That's number one. But number two, I told y'all, Sanya low-key shaded Ralph when Ralph said you can't give the excuse that you're too busy to have this baby to do this for your marriage. And Sanya says, well, you all act as though you're so busy, but we don't know what y'all have going on. So Ralph went back and told Drew what the shade was because it did not go over his head, just like it did not go over mine. Okay. So now it's got them wondering who's out to get them. All right. Marlo goes furniture shopping. Because she's having her house built, and she's trying to figure out her budget for the living room. And Sheree tells her, "Well, girl, I spent $40,000 for mine, so you should probably spend $40,000 for yours." Now, $40,000 for most of us is a down payment on a new house. Okay, so listen, Sheree's house is a bad mamma jamma, but I'm not spending $40,000 on my living room. I'm just not. Even if I had it in the bank like that, I'm not going to do that. Probably not. Okay, I don't know. You could be like Anila, Sheree, and get all $500,000 worth of furniture for the free, allegedly. Okay, but we'll talk about Anila when we get to it in the Married to Medicine review. But Sheree, my suggestion would be that you start calling Anila and asking her for the hookup. So you ain't got actually Marlo, because you ain't spent the money yet. You need to call Anila for the hookup and see how you can get your $500,000 worth of furniture for your new house for the free 99 too. Okay, how about that? Meanwhile, Sheree wants all the girls to come over for a pajama jammy jam. Okay, Marlo tells her, "Keep Kenya clear of me, or I will tear your $40,000 living room up." Okay, Marlo is convinced that Kenya is out to get her. Okay, and she's taking those pills to lose the weight, allegedly. This is what Marlo said. Okay, but Sanya lets them know what's up. Sanya tells Marlo that Kenya feels blindsided by Marlo, and saying that she was lying about being sick and stuff like that. So then Sanya asks Marlo if she cannot go below the belt with Kenya, and Marlo says that Kenya has a case of can't take Marlo. Then Marlo reveals that after the boys were acting so chaotic, punching the walls, going in her room and getting the laptop that she took from them and doing, they just acting, they running them up. She cast them out like the evil spirits that Drew's prophet is warning about. Okay, she cast them out and sent them to her little sister's house because the little sister already got kids. So why not add to the sister's load and send the boys on over there too? Okay, and Sheree is looking like, girl, I didn't want it to give my kids, I don't want it to throw my kids away, but I ain't never done it. Okay, when you decide that you are going to be the parental figure in the child's life, and you want to create a stable environment for them, I'm not saying that Marlo is right or wrong because I'm not a parent, but I can definitely see what Candy, what Sheree, and the rest of these ladies are talking about when they try to tell her, like, listen, girl, you can't create this environment for these kids and then up and change the environment and you say that you're trying to do the right things for them, because now you just putting them back into the system and letting them know that should they ever do something that doesn't jive well with the parental figure, then they will be cast out like the demons that the prophet is warning Drew about. Okay. But Marlo is like, well, listen, I don't know what I'm doing with this parenting thing because I was raised up in the foster system and I don't want them to turn out negatively because of something I'm doing wrong. Okay. And this is where I would suggest family therapy. Okay. Meanwhile, Sheree has the ladies come into her place for the pajama jammy jam in different shades of the nude to represent stripping it all down and stripping it off and taking everything off. You take off your clothes. Sound a little like some vibrating panties might be involved to me, but you know how they feel about those vibrating bloomers. They don't like it, not one bit. Okay. So that's a shock, number one. So they're going to be painting abs, peen, and booty. Oh, Candy, you going to bring your vibrating bloomers? Because they bout it tonight, okay? They may not want those bloomers on around nobody else's husbands or nothing like that, but they ready to paint some peen tonight, okay? Peens and peaches, okay? Anyway, Candy and Fatum arrived first, and Fatum let her know that she got some coochie incense for the Sheree, to clean out her nether regions so that she can get all the toxicity out of her life. Okay. They don't know if Drew is coming or not. But they want to know how Fatum feels about Drew, okay? And she doesn't understand why Drew came at her crazy. Well, it could be possibly because you told her that Anthony had told Sheree and you that your husband was gay. The husband was gay. That's probably why she came after you that way, Fatum. But I don't know. I mean, call me crazy, all right? So anyway, Fatum says, you know what? I was talking to a friend about it who works in real estate, okay? And my friend who works in the real estate said, let me go pull that background file. And you know what? I have found that they have a whole lot of aliases, okay? They got a whole lot of aliases. I don't know why, okay? And one of those aliases is a wall man, okay? Where did we hear about a wall man? The prophet, okay? And so it all goes back to the prophet at this point. But is the woman in question that's out to get Drew, is it Ralph's alias or is it Fatum in this moment? We don't know, but we're going to find out, okay? Anyway, they got the 12 aliases. One of them is a female. She passes around the phone so everybody can look at it. And Candy says, well, some people create aliases when they got the bad credit, okay? I think Kenya it was either Candy or Kenya that compared him to Tommy from Martin and said got a whole lot of money, but not a job in sight. Okay. So then Drew arrives. Well, before I get to Drew, let me get to this. Cosmore says, you guys do know Tyrone allegedly. Well, I cannot, I guess we can't say, I don't know. I'm going to say allegedly because that's all I can say in this moment right here. Let me put this down here because I don't know how she paid for the house. And so I'm not going to say that. But allegedly paid for the house, for the home with the money. Okay. Then remember, Bob Money had her in an apartment with a blow-up mattress. This is why she is loyal to Tyrone. Now, I don't know. Again, that is alleged. Okay. That is alleged. I had not heard that. Okay. But that's it. That's what the comment said. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Now, meanwhile, Drew arrives because she was not there to hear any of this. And, you know, she's hearing the prophet's recording playing in her head. Monyetta and Marlo arrive. Kenya calls Marlo Sasquatch in a lace. Sheree says that they are going to paint, and Candy asks, is there going to be models involved? Real models, real peen, real peaches. I want it all, okay? And yes, there are going to be real models, and they're going to be really naked, okay? I wonder how the ladies will react to that, because you know they don't like no vibrating panties. They don't like nothing nude or lewd, okay? But maybe it was just around other people's husbands. Let me give them some slack on that one, okay? Because that could be a thing. Anyway, the new models walk in, and then Lisa Wu walks in as everybody is painting the peen. So then Drew asks Sanya, because they standing beside each other, yeah, you know, Ralph told me that you was asking about how busy we really are or whatever. And Sanya says, well, that was just based on an assumption that he made that we were really, really busy. And then Sanya says, I didn't mean any shade by it, Drew. But the producers flashed back, and it was clearly meant to shade both Drew and Ralph because they got all these assistants, they got all this money, and don't nobody know where it come from, okay? Let's be real about it, Sanya. That's my issue with Sanya in general, is that I feel like she likes to say these little slick comments, but then likes to backtrack and put punani pop, you know, around whether or not she was being real with it or not, and simply say, listen, Drew, yeah, I did say that. I mean, I was joking about it, but I mean, you know, y'all got like 80 assistants. Like, why? You know what I'm saying? She could have flipped it on Drew, but she did not. She allowed Drew to take her to a space, and I felt like Drew had every right to confront her about that. And I feel like every time Sanya gets confronted with something, she usually blames it on the other person getting loud with her. And I'm like, no, Drew never really gets loud, at least from my perspective, but she will ask you the questions that need to be asked. And in this moment, you're not serving what you think that you're serving, Sanya. So somebody's got to let you know. I think it might be Lisa Wu. Anyway, Marlo and Candy run into each other in the bathroom, and we get this audio conversation. It starts off as an audio conversation, and Marlo lets her know she kicked the boys out. And Candy's like, now say what now? Okay, you kicked the boys out. Marlo reveals she's drinking more, she's stressed and going to therapy. Why not take the boys to the therapy, okay? I mean, for real. I mean, that's a good question. JMW, why ask for advice if you're about to shade? Like that to me, that was like crazy. Like you the one coming to him for advice. So now you're gonna shade him when he does give you advice, and he's not even like coming at you crazy. Anyway, Candy basically tells Marlo, listen, girl, you've given these boys this fabulous life, and now you just take it all away from them. Like, I don't necessarily know that that's the right thing to do. So they kind of get over their issues in this moment because Candy reveals, like, you know, she didn't know what the energy was going to be between her and Marlo when they got there because they didn't really get to finish their conversation from Drop It with Drew event. But, you know, after Candy talks her through it, Marlo tells her, thank you for forgiving me. And Candy tells her, yeah, because I was about to cut you off. Now, clearly, Candy don't know everything that Marlo's been saying about her. Anyway, the ladies sit down for dinner. And Sheree tells the ladies that she's ready to shed all the negativity. Drunk Kenya wants to play a game. Whenever someone says something positive, you say, yas, queen. And so Drew points out that Candy and Marlo had a private convo, and Candy reveals that they are in a better place. And Marlo says, I love everyone. And then it's Drew's turn to go, and Drew says, I'm getting along with mostly everyone here. And everybody's like, no, queen, no. Because Drew, you can't just lie. Just lie in this moment to get through it. But no. Drew is going to be true to herself, okay? She's got to be true to herself. Danny says, sometimes I feel like Marlo got them for a storyline. I hope not, but it feels that way. I would like to not think that because I feel like, dang, that's a lot of work for a storyline. I mean, ooh, that's a lot. Taking care of 2 kids, that's a lot to do for, I don't know. You could probably give up forego the paycheck for that. I mean, because the kids are expensive. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, Kenya drunkenly looks at her and at Drew and tells her to start over. Sheree says in the moment confessional that Drew is not used to getting love, so she can't give it. So then Drew calls out Marlo. Then Marlo says, well, you and Sanya and Drew argue 24/7, which ends up setting off Sanya. Then Drew says, well, I even love my enemies, which prompts a word from the prophet, Lisa Wu. Yes, indeed, Lord, we didn't know we had multiple prophets in this episode, and one of them was Lisa Wu, because Lisa Wu took that opportunity to step forward on the microphone and deliver her sermon. She said it's now or never, okay? I must make my impact and I must make my presence known in this episode, and I am going to do it right now. Shut up, Sanya. Stop talking when I'm talking, okay? This is my moment, not yours. You had an opportunity and you blew it, and that's that. I don't even think that you should be here. Actually, they should replace you with me. Now, because when Sanya tries to get a word in edgewise, Lisa Wu quickly shuts that thing on down. And is it me, or does Lisa Wu look just a little bit different? I don't really know what it is. And to me, there was a small portion that thought, well, is she tipsy too? Because when she did her monologue, I was like, where is this going? I mean, it was a good word, best believe, but I could not help but think to myself, was she on the same Henny that maybe Kenya was on? Because I could have swore I felt like there was some words being slurred and whatnot. Anyway, she tells Sanya off, and doesn't let Sanya get in a word edgewise. And to be quite honest with you, I was kind of happy about it because at the end of the day, I feel like, Sanya does a lot of stuff that I don't quite necessarily understand. I do not dislike her. I actually like her. I don't know if I like her for this show particularly, but I like her in general. As a person, I feel like she's probably a sweet woman. But I don't know how I feel about her and the way she kind of moves within this group. So I was kind of here for Lisa Wu giving her the business. That's just me. Meanwhile, Drew then turns her attention to Fatum and wants Fatum to apologize to her. And that's when Kenya drunkenly tries to intervene. But she ends up letting Drew know that Fatum did a background check, okay? And we learned that in the background check, there was multiple aliases, and one of Ralph's aliases is a Danielle, okay? Apparently, this is the name of one of Drew's assistants. And so as Fatum is talking, I can't tell if she's drunk or not, okay? I have no idea who's drunk and who's not. All I know is that as Fatum is talking, Drew is ordering a salad in the most chaotic split screen I have ever seen on a show. I was actually here for Drew ordering her salad while Fatum was talking. Suddenly, a drunk Kenya bursts out and asks, "Well, do you love her?" Okay. All I'm thinking is, what is happening here? Do you know how hard it is to take notes on a drunken conversation? I don't think y'all know. Anyway, I lose track of all the chaos because at some point Kenya falls out. Not for real, but for play. And then she asks if her wig is on straight. Fatum is looking blurry to me at this point. I can't tell if it's me or the screen. And then I'm wondering, am I drunk? But then I remember Fatum saying that she's going to find out more dirt on Drew. Okay. I guess she's going to do another background search. I don't really know. Can y'all answer me a question? Can you just randomly do background searches on people? I felt like we recall Lisa Nicole doing that on Married to Medicine. That did not work out too well for her in the long run. But anyway, if you worked in real estate, do you just go and do a random background check on somebody? You don't have to have no credentials to do that. How does that work? Okay. Or maybe because you got the real estate license, you can do the background check. I don't know. Truth be told, I took the class. I passed the class exam, which was hard AF. Okay. I still got to take my big national exam. So I don't know. Maybe that comes along with the territory. You can now do background checks on people. I don't know. Somebody tell me in the chatterization, how does that work? And why? Why would you be doing a background check on somebody? You're not even part of the cast. Okay, you just a friend of. Was you gonna give it to Sheree for Sheree to use, against her? Like, what was it for? Yeah, we know that Ralph is a bit. He comes across shady. We know he reads shady on the screen. We know he don't always make the most sense. We know he makes decisions that seem very, very bad. What else do we need to know about him? I really didn't necessarily need to know that he had a female alias named Danielle. Okay. Meanwhile, y'all telling me anybody can do a background check. Okay, great. Now that I know that, I thought you had to have some type of special criteria to get to do a background check on somebody. It just kind of I don't know. It just kind of is weird to me. Meanwhile, Drew starts talking to Sheree and points out that she did not like not knowing about the Anthony situation. So why is Sheree putting her in a similar situation with Fatum doing this research on her? The argument is cut short because it is time to steam Sheree's coochie. Okay, so Kenya drunkenly leads her back into the room as she is wrapped in her priestess robe. The smoke will now enter the punani and cleanse the old energy out, and then bring in the new as Sheree drops it low and bounces on top of the smokestack like she's dropping it on Tyrone. Okay, but not Tyrone now, because now suddenly he's a con man. Okay, allegedly. Anyway, she feels a tingle in her nether regions. Meanwhile, Drew feels like this is the witchcraft that the prophet was warning her about. So at this point, Drew is like, no, I will not go near that. This is black magic, okay? So at that point, it's time to toast, okay? It's time to toast to Sheree or something. Maybe it's the steam in the cooch. I don't know. But it's time to toast to something else. I don't know how many more toasts they need to do because some of these girls are already drunk. Anyway, Kenya talks about her 24 inches of real hair, and for some reason, Marlo brings up Kenya finally feeling comfortable talking about wearing wigs, and they get into this whole little back and forth, and then Kenya starts bringing up Mark again, and I just got to say this. I think it is played out when somebody brings up Marlo's background in an argument or when they're talking about her, but I also think it is played out when Marlo brings up Mark at every opportunity on this show, because I kind of feel like, listen, we're not even getting the regular updates on her ongoing divorce. Why are we even talking about this man? What difference does it make? A failed relationship is really nothing to blast someone over, okay? Like, it just feels so played out because not only that, but you've already used this trick. So, find another one. And I know Marlo talks about her not being able to read and all of that, but I'm like, at least go do some research. Have somebody write some reads for you and then memorize them, okay? Do what everybody else does, allegedly. Meanwhile, Marlo says, you know what? After she gets done berating Kenya for her failed relationship, okay, like that's something to drag a person for. She then says, I love you all, okay? It's back to love. I'm back to it, all right? And now I want to toast to, in 4 days, taking all of you ladies to the fabulous Blue Ridge Mountains. Now, for those of you guys who do not live uh, anywhere around the mountains, this is not a treat. Okay, no shade to anybody. I love a mountain. I listen. I love the mountains, the scenery and whatnot. But I mean, if you was gonna take them to the mountains, you should take them to Lake Tahoe or something like that. Take them to, I don't know, take them to Colorado. Take them up to Pikes Peak. But you taking these go to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Just say we going to the woods for the weekend, and that's it. Okay, that's all I got for you right now. That's all the budget called for. So gather your bags and off we go. Okay. Meanwhile, Kenya's like, oh, fun, a road trip. And then she scurries off saying that she's leaving this party, but she goes out the wrong exit and goes running through Sheree's house. They have to go get her and bring her drunk butt back downstairs. And all I'm thinking to myself is, please have drunk Kenya show up next week, because this, okay, was comedy. This whole episode had me laughing. I laughed so much. I don't know. Even though I felt like they caught some of these editing tricks from that episode of Potomac, I changed my vote. I got to give this episode a 10. When the episode gives me something to talk about, and if the episode gives me something to do, and I'm not pulling stuff out of the air to try to make this thing fun. Honestly, this episode gave, so I got to rechange, and I never do this. I got to change my rating. I'm gonna give this thing a 10. Okay, it's a 10. It's a 10 for me. Okay, Rania, I love you too, boo. Love you too. It's a 10 for me. I gotta go ahead and say it. I mean, that's it. We're gonna go ahead and give it a 10. We're gonna end it on this note, and we're gonna also end it with a special word. And I want you guys to really think about this as we exit. And I want you guys to think about who she might have been talking about.
This message is for Drew. Pray a prayer of protection over Drew while she's in Atlanta. There's a woman of adversary of people out to damage her. It could be a woman, but it could be a man with the spirits of a woman. Beware, Drew. They are out to get you.